Fishy, fishy, fishy!
What's going on, fishy friends? Alright, Rich here with a different video than usual. I got tagged in the Aquarium Tuber Tag Challenge, I think it was what it was called. I think we all have Psychedelic Babe to thank for creating this thing to begin with. Let's see, I got a cheat sheet over here. Let's see, I was nominated by LoveFish123. She's got a pretty cool channel, you should go check it out. I'll link it in the description below. She's got a lot of betta fish, about 15 tanks I think she keeps right now. It's a pretty cool channel, you should go check it out. Thank you for the nomination. And let's get on with the show here. Let's see, so number one, how did I get into the hobby? I have my father to thank for that. My father got me into the hobby when I was a little kid. He and I used to peruse garage sales and things like that and try to compile tanks and equipment the cheapest possible way we could. We were a big fan of 10-gallon tanks. This was probably, I don't remember exactly when he got me into the hobby. I want to say it was when I was very, very young. I'm trying to remember what house we lived in at the time. It's probably the early 90s, actually. It's probably a little later than I actually thought. Probably wasn't quite as young as I had thought. But I remember keeping 10-gallon tanks. I remember keeping a lot of neon tetras with him, a lot of zebra danios and things like that. And, well, the hobby has come such a long way. The information has come such a long way. I remember we used to lose fish all the time, specifically after doing a big tank cleaning. We used to keep a lot of the Tetra Second Nature Whisper filters. Matter of fact, I might have one in the back of the basement here somewhere still. But anybody who's been around for a while might remember those, similar to the old box filters, undergravel filters, and things like that that you hardly ever see anymore. But with those Tetra Second Nature filters, after a while, the cartridge with the filter floss, for lack of a better term, would get all dirty and gunked up, and in our infinite wisdom, we would take them to the sink, run them under some chlorinated tap water, clean them out real good, put them back in the filter, do a big water change, and lo and behold, the next day most of our fish would be dead. And I always remember taking a Ziploc bag full of water out of my aquarium, going to the local fish store and having them test the water, and they would always say, oh geez, you must have just set up this aquarium, it must be brand new. We said the thing's been up and running for months, if not years. You know, we never understood the science behind it, and the nitrogen cycle, and the idea of beneficial bacteria, and how chlorine can potentially kill that, and how important a seeded filter is and stuff like that. So, come quite a long way since then. I guess that's that. Number two, my favorite fish. Favorite fish are going to have to be discus. I have quite a few at the top of my list that I would consider my favorites, but I'd say my absolute favorite has to be discus at this point in time in my life anyway. Number three, my least favorite fish. It's tough picking a least favorite. I wouldn't say I hate any fish. I think currently, out of the fish I keep right now, my daughter's red-tailed black shark. That might be my least favorite fish. It's a beautiful fish to look at, and it's just a bit more aggressive than I had hoped, a bit more aggressive than most of my research led me to believe. So right now, my red-tailed black shark, my daughter's red-tailed black shark, would be my least favorite fish. Number four, filters that I use. I use a combination of anything and everything. I run a wet-dry trickle filter sump on my African cichlid tank that I keep in my office. On a majority of my bare bottom tanks, I run sponge filters. On a lot of tanks, I run hang-on back filters. The only hang-on back filter I currently keep, I'm not sure if you could even see it here. I'm not going to bother showing all this stuff. I've shown it before. But the Aquaclear hang-on backs are by far my favorite hang-on back filter. They're very versatile. This is an Aquaclear 50 or 70. I got two Aquaclear 110s on the 72 bow front over there. The angelfish tank off to my left has an Aquaclear 20 or 30 or something. There's an Aquaclear 10 on one of the 10-gallon tanks behind the camera, and at least one or two other Aquaclear hang-ons sitting in a big pile of junk over in the corner of the room that I'm not currently using. I also run a bunch of different canisters. Maybe you can see I got a Fluke 305 over here. I got a Sun 303B or something like that behind me. I've run other fluvels in the past. I've run an Eheim for a little while. Canisters can be a blessing in disguise. They can also be a curse in disguise. When I first started ramping up my involvement in the hobby, a canister filter was something I hadn't yet used, something I wasn't willing to spend the money on. It seemed like it was something reserved for, you know, elite members of the hobby, and that it was the greatest thing ever. And, you know, just like any other filter, they have their ups and their downs. They still require maintenance, and nothing is a magic pill, so to say. So I found they all pretty much work the same as long as you're willing to put in the effort and do your normal tank maintenance. If you ignore your tank, no matter what kind of filter it is, you're going to have some issues no matter what. Lighting, same as the filters. I run a various combination of lighting. This thing right here is a T5 high output lamp. It's a shop lamp from Home Depot. I fabbed up this reflector out of some aluminum roof sheathing. I bent it, I cut it, I folded over the edges so I wouldn't cut myself, and I'm pretty impressed with the performance of this thing. I'm happy with the way it looks. I'm happy with the way it sits and performs, and I'm happy with the way it grows plants. Besides that, I run a lot of Finex LEDs. I got a Stingray over here on top of this discus tank, a Stingray over here on top of this angelfish tank. I got a Finex Planted Plus over here, Finex Planted Plus in combination with a Current USA satellite LED over there. Another Current USA satellite, another Current USA, another Current USA. 3 or 4 other types of Finex fixtures over around the other side of the room. I got a Fuge Ray. I don't even remember the names of them all. And then I also run something as simple as a compact fluorescent bulb in a clamp-on shop light reflector, I think is what you would call it. Different lights serve different purposes. I even run the LED strip lighting on 2 different discus tanks. On my tanks that aren't planted, the light is simply there so I can see the fish. That's its only function. And there's different characteristics of different lights that make certain fish look better and or potentially worse. But if it's not a planted tank, I honestly don't put too much thought into what kind of light I use. When it comes to planted tanks, a little more thought is required. Certain lights perform much better than others for growing plants. But I'm happy with the combination of stuff I use. My favorite tank setup. That changes on any given basis and depending on what my mood is and how I'm exactly thinking about it. This is my favorite planted tank right now insofar as how the plants are growing and performing and reacting. But I think my favorite tank setup would have to be the tank I keep in my office, my African cichlid tank, only because of how much effort I put into automating that. I've got an automatic top-off system. I've got the wet-dry trickle filter sump. Various combinations of float switches and relays and things like that. One as part of the automatic top-off system, and 2 as part of an insurance system, so to say. Again, that's a tank I keep in my office. I can't be there all the time. God forbid something were to go wrong. I might not know about it for 24, 48 hours or even longer sometimes. So I added in a lot of safeguards to make sure that the display tank could never possibly overflow from the sump overfilling it. I made sure the sump couldn't overflow from the main tank draining down too low and things like that. So just the amount of effort I had to put in to button all that up and make that work correctly. That's something I wish I had filmed more of. I wasn't really filming as much for YouTube at the time. I think I have a brief little video where I don't really even talk about it, but the amount of effort I put into that was something to be proud of, and I'm very happy that it's performed as well as it has for as long as it has so far. Let's see, my dream tank. I don't have a specific dream tank. I'm going to change this to my dream room. My dream room is just to be able to get into a bigger fish room so I can have bigger tanks in general. I'd love to have a giant 220 or bigger. If I had the available space, I would probably look into building a custom tank of some crazy, crazy dimensions and just do a huge planted discus tank. And that would really be my ideal goal. A specific number of gallons wouldn't really matter to me. I would just make a tank fit in the largest space I have and make the largest possible aquarium I could. Foods I use tons of different foods. I use a lot of high quality flake food from Ken's Fish. I use a lot of freeze-dried bloodworms. Blackworms? Bloodworms? I forget what they're called. The Australian freeze-dried blackworms. I use freeze-dried bloodworms. I use frozen bloodworms. I use frozen baby brine shrimp. I use live baby brine shrimp. I use various other kinds. New Life Spectrum pellets. Some of the Serra tabs. Some of the Hikari stuff, the algae wafers, the micro pellets, geez, I don't even know what else, but a lot of different kinds of foods. I tend to shy away from some of the foods I used to use when I was younger. Any of the Tetra brand stuff, any of the Aquarium brand stuff, I don't know. I have no idea if it's any worse or any better than any of the other stuff, but for some reason I tend to shy away from that and use some of the other things that have been recommended to me by other hobbyists who have really been involved in this hobby longer, and people who I've seen had great success with more than just one tank. My dream fish to keep, I'm going to have to go with discus again, even though I do currently keep them. not sure if there's any particular species that I don't keep that I would really want to. There's quite a few different kinds of epistogramma that I'd like to get my hands on that I have not yet, but I really would say discus are my dream fish. And let's see, now I gotta nominate 3 people here. I was going through some of my subscriber lists. It was tough to pick only 3 and tough to make sure that these people haven't been nominated already. They probably have been, and I just haven't been paying enough attention. I gotta admit, I haven't paid much attention to this particular challenge, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not a huge fan of these things in general. I kind of think of them as chain letters. So, you know, sorry if I upset anyone by nominating them, but hey, for the furtherance of the hobby, for the good of the YouTube community, we'll go ahead and do this. So, I'll nominate, and I'll put links down below to their pages. I'm going to nominate Deb Tim, a Canadian girl. She's got a pretty cool channel. You should go check that out. Rico Suave, a.k.a. Crazy Wonton Soup. I don't see Rico posting all that much, but Rico's got quite a lot of stuff going on. He's got quite a bit of knowledge in his brain there, and he should post some more. And let's see, the youngest person who I believe subscribes to me, or at least who comments regularly, Race2461 Gaming. A young kid that keeps a fish tank, and he's involved in YouTube, and it'd be cool to see that younger generation, you know, carry on this torch, keep on keeping fish, and keep on making videos. Alright guys, that's it for now. Check out all these other channels, and comment, rate, subscribe. I'll talk to you later.